Welcome back. Canada's healthcare system is a big and complex one. Here's a look by the numbers. The highest spending in healthcare happens at hospitals, consuming almost 26% of the total spent. In 2024, that was equal to $2,334 a person. Spending on drugs at 13.7% and doctors at 13.3% is about equal, or roughly $1,200 per person. The vast majority of money comes from taxpayers, 71%, with just shy of 65% from provincial and territorial governments and 6.2% from other public sector sources. That means 29% of the healthcare spend in Canada is private, putting us above the OECD average of 25% and well above the UK's 18% or Sweden at 14%, both of which have public health systems. Seniors use up more health spending than other groups. In 2022, they were 18.8% of the population, but represented 46.9% of total health costs. Scale matters in healthcare, with per-person costs way higher in small, remote places, from $27,401 a person in Nunavut to $9,463 per person in PEI. That compares to $8,405 in Ontario. And while smaller places have faster growing health costs, Ontario's rate of growth in 2024 was 2.3%. One part of the healthcare system that has innovated in favor of patient and user experience is diagnostic firm LifeLabs. Can it be part of a broader solution in healthcare delivery in Canada? Charles Brown is the CEO of LifeLabs. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks. It's my pleasure.
And the reason I asked that, Charles, is because your company has shown itself to be kind of nimble in being able to deliver new products and services in patient care. One of the issues we have in healthcare is that kind of end point, reaching the patients, particularly at the primary care level. Do you see LifeLabs as potentially playing a bigger role there?
I most certainly do. When you talk about innovation, that's really at the forefront of what we do, bringing new tests and diagnostics to market. You know, recently we launched something called sensitivity troponin, which is a test that's used to detect cardiovascular disease. We're doing things in liver, all sorts of tests where people can get a simple blood test instead of having to engage a more expensive process. And so we're just seeing more and more customers coming to us asking for innovation in their diagnostics so they can have a better health outcome.
And, you know, of course, for people that aren't kind of familiar with where you fit into the landscape, you are a private company. So arguably, this is a way that the private sector can play a role in the public health system. Does that create complications, or do people kind of not mind that, given the fact that it's a service that we want to access?
LifeLabs has been serving Canadians for 60 years, and we've been a private company for most of those. So Canadians don't mind it. Our biggest customers are actually to our governments. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we're basically privately delivering public health care.
How far could that go, Charles? I mean, so full disclosure, I know LifeLabs because I, you know, like many Canadians, I use the services. I actually use your in-home services because I'm lazy, and it's otherwise I'd never get blood work done. But how far could you take the services you can offer so that you're actually reaching more people, doing more things, including in-home?
If you look at where diagnostics is trending, so there's the experience everyone's used to where they come to a patient service center, as we call it, and somebody does a sample collection. Now there's My Visit, which you're talking about using, which isn't laziness. People are using that because they want to schedule their time better, or perhaps our biggest market segment, they have elderly parents, right? And it's a far less traumatic way to do that. Now we're delivering kits where people actually collect the sample themselves and drop it off. And so we are expanding diagnostics both from the side of the public healthcare system and also starting to deliver services to people who want to know more about their health with innovative tests.
There was some really interesting recent research showing people's willingness to engage with AI instead of a human doctor. I don't know if you saw that, but it struck me as fascinating. We actually just want information, I guess, and we don't really care how we get it, as long as it's accurate. Where does that kind of technology fit into your future?
So AI is going to be critical to, you know, services offered, because what it's enabling is unique ways to offer tests. as we start to learn more and more about if you have these symptoms, here's a likely outcome, we can start packaging that up. And so we can start looking at you and offering tests that might use your smartphone, that you might conduct yourself at home and then use a tool that we provide to give you the analysis. It's really taking over. It's going to take over in oncology testing in some areas. There's no doubt about it. AI is one of the seminal events coming to medical diagnostics.
Just a few seconds here, but privacy is something, of course, we talk a lot about when we use these kinds of services. What assurance do you give people that they're safe?
So we've spent a lot of money and effort on building infrastructure that protects people's data. Our data is housed in Canada. We meet all the standards we're supposed to meet, and it's an area of great concern for us as far as we're a health information custodian. And so we have a responsibility to keep that data safe, and we do everything we can to lock it down and protect it.
Charles, so good to have you with us. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much. Have a great day.
Charles Brown is CEO of LifeLabs. A healthy healthcare ecosystem is also one that discovers new technologies for disease and injury. One of them, NervGen Pharma, just released results from a clinical study of a drug aimed at treating spinal cord injury. Mike Kelly is president and CEO of NervGen Pharma. Mike, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with the most important news, and that is the results of the clinical data. What did it show?
Well, the data showed that our drug candidate, NBG-291, can actually increase connectivity between the brain and the upper limb, the hand specifically, after the subject has a spinal cord injury. So it's a pretty dramatic breakthrough. That was the first discovery. The second was that connection can actually turn into functional improvement. So there were two real big aha moments when we looked at the data. The first was the electric connection that gets past the site of injury has improved. And the second is people could use their hands much better.
So that's obviously an astonishing development for this category, of course, which is catastrophic injury. Just give us, for those that aren't in the the biotech space, what is the kind of level of that trial, the clinical trial? Where are you in sort of the stages of them? There are different stages. How advanced are you, in other words, to saying this is a real thing?
Well, this is what we call a phase 1b/2a trial. It was a proof of concept. We have phenomenal data in animal models. And this was our first foray into actually testing people who have spinal cord injury. The results here, though, we have statistical significance in our primary endpoint, which is the connectivity I talked about. And we also have very strong trends in functional. So it's a huge step forward for a patient population that has nothing. So our next step is to continue to look at all of the data. This is just the tip of the surface that we looked at, the primary and secondary endpoints. Gather all that data, have a meeting with the FDA, and talk about our development path moving forward.
And how long is that path, Mike? I mean, I know it can take a long time for the people that are obviously investors are interested, but for the potential patients, the big question will be, when can this be something I can try? How long till you get some sort of FDA approval or similar?
Well, the path is, there's a spectrum of outcomes here after we meet with the FDA. On one end of the spectrum, this could be enough to show that we do see an effect, and we could potentially get accelerated approval. We don't know that. We have to talk to the FDA about the strength of this data. And then the other end of the spectrum is if they say, well, we want to see more before we get approval, we'll have to do a larger confirmatory trial. That'll take us about 1.5 years to complete, and then you submit to the FDA and you're approved after that. So it ranges anywhere between 2027 and 2028.
And of course, one of the big questions in the process for companies like yours is, do you have the capital to get there, and whether the environment is good? Or are you confident in your ability to fund this through to the end?
I am. I'm confident with this data that we're going to be able to get the money that we need. You don't see breakthroughs in science like this too often. We have a lot of interest in the company. We have a strong shareholder base that has helped us to get to this point. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to raise the capital to do the next step of development and get this thing to patients as quickly as possible.
And of course, it is a big breakthrough, obviously. Mike, is there anything else like it in the world that you can compare to?
Nothing. There's nothing like this. This is the first time that anyone's ever demonstrated with a drug that is delivered through a needle subcutaneously in the belly, just like insulin is. And that has turned into regeneration, remyelination, and enhanced plasticity, which is fancy words for regrowing connections between the brain and muscles in the hand. So nothing has ever demonstrated this. This is also in a patient population who was injured chronically. They had their injury 3+ years ago. So they had some performance, or they had some improvement. That improvement plateaued, and they were where they were for the rest of their lives. And now we have a catalyst to actually give them hope to continue to improve. So it's a pretty significant medical breakthrough. There's nothing like this in spinal cord injury.
Mike, so good to have you with us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Mike Kelly is president and CEO of NervGen Pharma. Coming up, teaching your people how to think creatively and build the next generation of business. That's still ahead.